Rain hammered against Mia Lewis's apartment window like a warning she refused to hear. Her hands trembled as she stared at the glowing screen, 2 words typed and ready to detonate her life. We're done. 3 months. That's how long she'd been entangled with Enzo Rocco, the man whose name made seasoned detectives sleep with their lights on. 3 months of luxury that tasted like poison, of kisses that felt like claims of ownership, of protection that suffocated like a velvet noose. Her finger hovered over the send button. She'd met him at Carmelo's, the upscale Italian restaurant where she worked between art classes, struggling to keep her dreams alive on minimum wage and burnt coffee. He'd walked in on a Tuesday night that felt like any other, until it wasn't. Dark suit tailored to perfection, eyes that could strip away lies, and a presence that made the room rearrange itself around him. Mr. Rocco, her manager had whispered, practically bowing, "Our best table." Immediately. Mia hadn't known then. Hadn't known about the empire built on fear, the politicians in his pocket, the bodies that never surfaced. She'd just seen a man who looked at her like she mattered. Now she knew too much. She pressed send. The message disappeared into the digital void. For 3 seconds she allowed herself to breathe. Then her phone lit up. "You don't decide that." 4 words. No emotion. No question mark. Just certainty. Cold and absolute as death. Mia's heart slammed against her ribs. She knew what came next. She'd seen how Enzo operated, how he moved through the world taking what he wanted, eliminating what stood in his way. Her phone buzzed again. "I'm coming over." "No," she whispered to her empty apartment, as if he could hear her. "No, no, no." She grabbed the phone with shaking hands, typing frantically, "There's nothing to discuss. Please respect my decision." His response came instantly. "You made a decision based on incomplete information. Open your door in 20 minutes. 20 minutes. The time it took his driver to navigate from his downtown fortress to her modest Arts District apartment. 20 minutes before her carefully constructed escape plan crumbled. Mia paced her small living room, sock-covered feet silent against hardwood floors. What had she been thinking? You don't break up with Enzo Rocco via text. You don't break up with him at all, not when his world has already swallowed you whole. Her phone rang, his custom ringtone, Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, installed without her permission. She let it ring out. It started again immediately, and again. By the time she heard the distinctive purr of his black Mercedes outside, she had 20 missed calls. Through the blinds, she watched him emerge from the car, straightening his navy suit jacket. Even from 3 floors up, she could feel his eyes lock onto her window. She stumbled back, pulse thundering. The doorbell rang. She remained frozen. "Mia." His voice carried through the door, controlled and lethal. "Open the door." She didn't move. Mia Rose Lewis. Her full name spoken with the precision of a man who knew exactly how to make threats sound like promises. "I know you're standing 12 feet from this door. Open it, or Marcus will." Marcus, his right hand. The man she'd once watched break someone's arm for bumping into Enzo at a club. Her legs moved on instinct, trembling as she unfastened the chain, turned the deadbolt. The door swung open. Enzo stood in the hallway, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. No Marcus in sight, but close, always close. "May I come in?" As if this were a social call, as if she had any real choice. She stepped back. He entered like he owned the space, because in his mind, he probably did. His cologne hit her, sandalwood and something darker, dangerous. He scanned the room, and his jaw tightened when his eyes found the half-packed bag by her bedroom door. Going somewhere. Soft. Too soft. "I need space," Mia forced out. "Space." He tested the word like foreign currency. "You think I'm suffocating you? You had me followed, Enzo. I had you protected." He moved closer. "There's a difference. Not to me." His smile was cold, almost sad. "When have I ever pretended what we have is normal, Tesoro? You don't own me." Something flashed in his eyes. Raw, possessive, primal. "No." He reached out, tucking hair behind her ear, his touch burning. "Then why does it feel like you carved out a space inside me that belongs only to you? Why does the thought of you walking away feel like someone's cutting out my heart? The words hit like bullets. This was Enzo's true weapon. Not violence, but these moments of devastating vulnerability. I can't do this, she whispered, stepping back. I can't live watching over my shoulder, wondering if every friend is being investigated. You think leaving changes anything? His voice gentled, which somehow made it worse. You think I'll simply forget you exist? He closed the distance again, hand cradling her face. You became mine the moment you called that number I gave you. Perhaps before that, the first time our eyes met. Please don't. Do what? Fight for what's mine? His thumb brushed her lower lip. You knew who I was, Mia. You came to me with open eyes. I didn't know everything. No, he agreed, something like regret flickering across his features. Not everything. The silence stretched between them, filled only by rain and her uneven breathing. Sit down, he said finally, gesturing to her small couch. Please. The word sounded foreign on his lips. Mia perched on the edge of the sofa. Enzo moved to the window, his back to her, streetlight catching his profile. Do you know what happened today? He asked. Before I received your message? No. The Marchetti family tried to move into East Harbor. Conversational, as if discussing weather. 3 of my men were hospitalized. 1 might not make it. Ice spread through Mia's chest. This was his reality, violence always lurking beneath the surface. I'm sorry, she whispered. But what does that have to do with us? He turned. Everything is connected, Mia. The moment people realized you were important to me, you became a target. A weakness they could exploit. I never asked to be part of this, and yet, here we are. He sank beside her on the couch. When I saw you with that man today. His name is Daniel, Mia interrupted. He's an old friend from art school, nothing more. That isn't the point. Dangerous undercurrent beneath calm words. The point is that anyone close to you becomes a potential threat. To you, to me, to everything I've built. So I'm supposed to have no friends, no life outside of you? Pain flashed in his eyes before hardening to resolve. My father kept my mother locked away in our estate. She couldn't leave without armed escorts, couldn't even shop without planning a week in advance. His jaw tightened. I swore I'd never do that to someone He stopped abruptly. Loved, cared for, owned. The unfinished sentence hung between them. I've given you as much freedom as I can, he continued. But there are limits to what's safe. I can't live like this, Mia said again. Always wondering. It's not healthy, Enzo. And you think walking away solves the problem? He leaned closer, his scent enveloping her. You think the Marchettis wouldn't use you against me, even if we're no longer together? As long as I care about you, you're at risk. The implication stunned her. Unless he stopped caring altogether, she would never be free. Enzo read the thought on her face. His expression softened as he reached for her hand. I didn't come here to frighten you, Tesoro. I came because what we have is worth fighting for. Even if it means controlling every aspect of my life? He sighed, weary, vulnerable. I've made mistakes in how I've handled this. I should have been more transparent. As close to an apology as Enzo Rocco would ever give. I don't know what to do, Mia admitted. I feel like I'm drowning. His eyes searched hers. Then let me help you breathe. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. A text from Daniel asking about meeting for coffee tomorrow. Enzo's expression darkened instantly. He reached for the phone. Don't, Mia warned, snatching it away. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This isn't about control, he said, voice deceptively quiet. What do you really know about your friend Daniel? When did you last see him before today? What does that matter? He's been in Seattle for a graduate program. Just got back last week. Enzo stood, pacing like a caged predator. And he immediately sought you out. Did it not strike you as odd? Cold dread spread through Mia's chest. What are you saying? I'm saying that coincidences make me suspicious, especially when they involve someone I care about. He stopped, fixing her with an intense stare. 2 days after we learned the Marchettis are making moves against us. Daniel isn't... Mia trailed off. He had asked a lot of questions about her new apartment, whether she was seeing anyone. You don't know that, Enzo said softly, but I intend to find out. No. Mia stood, facing him directly. You are not investigating my friends. That's exactly why we're done, Enzo. This needs to stop. He moved toward her with predatory grace, backing her against the wall without touching. Nothing stops until I know you're safe. The heat of his body so close sent conflicting signals through her system. Danger and desire, fear and familiarity. Why me? The question escaped before she could stop it. Out of everyone, why me? Something vulnerable flickered across his face. Because you looked at me and saw a man, not a reputation. Because when you smile, it reaches your eyes. Because when I'm with you, the noise in my head quiets. His hand came up to cup her cheek. Because from the moment I saw you, I knew you were meant to be mine. The possessive declaration should have repelled her. Instead, warmth spiraled through her. I need to know something, Mia said, fighting for clarity. The security, the surveillance. Would it ever stop? He was quiet for a long moment. The world I live in doesn't allow for normal, Mia. I can promise to include you in decisions. To explain my reasons. To give you as much freedom as possible. His thumb traced her lower lip. But I will never promise not to protect what's mine. I would burn this city to the ground before I let anyone hurt you. She believed him. That was the terrifying part. I need time, Mia said finally, stepping away from his touch. Space to think, to decide if this is something I can live with. His jaw tightened. How much time? I don't know. A few days, maybe a week. 3 days, he countered. Stay in your apartment where my men can watch the building. Don't contact this Daniel or anyone you're not certain about. Those are conditions, not... Those are my terms, he interrupted. 3 days of safety in exchange for space. Mia wanted to refuse, but the mention of Daniel had planted doubt she couldn't dismiss. Fine, 3 days. But your men stay outside the building. A slight smile. You've gotten better at negotiating. I've had to. He nodded, then pulled out a sleek black phone. Take this. It connects directly to me and Marcus. Use it if anything feels wrong. She hesitated before taking it. He moved toward the door, then paused. In 3 strides, he was before her again, one hand sliding into her hair, tilting her face up. 3 days, he murmured, and then you're mine again. His mouth claimed hers in a kiss that was possession and plea, branding her with heat and need. She told herself to resist. Instead, her hands clutched his shoulders, body arching into his. When he broke the kiss, they were both breathing hard. He rested his forehead against hers. Remember this. Remember how it feels when we're together. Remember that no one else will ever make you feel this way. Then he was gone. Mia sank onto the couch, fingers touching lips that still burned from his kiss. The black phone sat on the table, sleek, ominous. 3 days to decide her life. 3 days to determine whether she could accept Enzo's world or walk away from the most intense connection she'd ever experienced. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Daniel. She stared at it, Enzo's suspicions echoing. Was it really coincidence that Daniel had reappeared now? Outside, rain continued falling. Mia curled into the couch corner, feeling the phantom pressure of Enzo's hands, the lingering scent of his cologne, the echo of his words. 3 days to choose between freedom and captivity, though she was no longer certain which was which. What she didn't know was that her choice had already been made, not by her, not by Enzo, but by forces already in motion, closing in like wolves circling prey. Sleep never came. Mia twisted in her sheets, replaying Enzo's words, his touch, his warnings. By dawn, she'd surrendered to wakefulness, padding to the kitchen for strong coffee as pale light filtered through the blinds. The apartment felt different, smaller, less secure. She found herself checking the locks twice, peering through the blinds to the street below where a dark sedan sat parked. one of Enzo's men, watching as promised. The sight should have angered her. Instead, she felt a treacherous sense of security. Mia carried her coffee to the small desk where half-finished paintings were stacked. Art had always been her escape. She picked up the most recent canvas, a cityscape at dusk, buildings silhouetted against deep blues and purples, windows glowing like distant stars. She'd started it 2 weeks ago after a night on the balcony of Enzo's penthouse, watching the city lights flicker on as darkness fell. Her phone buzzed. Not the black one Enzo left. Her regular phone. Another message from Daniel, the third since last night. Mia, everything okay? Let me know if we're still on for coffee today. Need to talk about something important. Something important. The words sent inexplicable chills through her. Enzo's suspicions whispered at the back of her mind. It seemed absurd. Daniel was an artist, passionate about sculpture and mixed media, not the type to get involved with organized crime. They'd spent countless hours in studios together, shared cheap wine and cheaper takeout, complained about professors. He'd never shown interest in her personal life beyond casual friendship, until yesterday. Until he'd asked pointed questions about where she was living now, whether she was seeing anyone, how she could suddenly afford tuition without working 2 jobs. Mia set the phone down without responding, unease coiling in her stomach. The delivery Enzo promised arrived mid-morning. Enough groceries to last a week, not 3 days. Fresh fruits, vegetables, imported pasta, expensive wine. The kind of provisions he kept in his own kitchen. Along with the food came a small package wrapped in cream-colored paper. Inside was a leather-bound sketchbook, its pages thick and textured, and a set of charcoal pencils she'd admired in an art supply store window weeks ago. A note accompanied the gift, handwritten in his precise, elegant script, for when the paint doesn't cooperate. How did he know? Had she mentioned her creative blocks? Or was this another example of his uncanny ability to read her, to anticipate her needs? Mia ran her fingers over the creamy pages, torn between gratitude and resentment. Every gift from Enzo came with invisible strings, yet she couldn't deny the thoughtfulness. Not an expensive trinket, but something personal, something that spoke to who she was. Her phone buzzed again. Daniel. Mia, please respond. It's important we talk today. The urgency in his message sent another ripple of unease through her. She picked up the black phone Enzo had left, weighing it in her hand. One call and Enzo's men would investigate Daniel, would determine whether the threat was real. One call and she would be yielding to Enzo's world once more. Instead, she set both phones down and reached for the new sketchbook. Hours passed as she lost herself in creation, the apartment growing dim as afternoon faded to evening. She'd filled nearly a dozen pages with shadowy cityscapes, abstract patterns, and, most telling, dark eyes that stared from the paper with an intensity unmistakably Enzo's. A sharp knock jolted her from her trance. She froze, charcoal suspended above the page. It couldn't be Enzo. He would have called first. Another knock, more insistent. Mia, it's Daniel. I know you're in there. Your neighbor said you haven't left all day. Her heart stuttered. Daniel, here at her apartment. How did he even know where she lived? She'd moved since they'd last been in regular contact, hadn't mentioned her new address during their brief cafe encounter. Mia, please, it's important. I'm worried about you. She rose slowly, instinctively wiping her charcoal-stained fingers. Her gaze darted to the black phone on the coffee table. Mia. Daniel's voice dropped, becoming oddly formal. Open the door. We need to talk about Enzo Rocco. Ice flooded her veins. There it was, confirmation this wasn't just a friendly visit. Daniel knew about Enzo, knew about them. She moved silently to the door, pressing her eye to the peephole. Daniel stood in the hallway, hands in the pockets of his worn leather jacket, his usual disheveled artist appearance unchanged. But something in his posture seemed different, more alert, more purposeful. I know you're there, Mia. Softer now. I'm trying to help you. You have no idea what kind of man he is, what he's capable of. But she did know. That was the problem. She knew exactly what Enzo was capable of, both the darkness and the unexpected tenderness. She reached for the black phone with trembling fingers, pressing the only number programmed into it. It connected instantly. Mia. Enzo's voice alert despite the late hour. What's wrong? Daniel's here, she whispered, moving away from the door. At my apartment. He knows about you, about us. A beat of silence. Don't open the door. Marcus is 2 minutes away. Stay on the line. Another knock, harder. Mia, please. I'm with the FBI. We've been building a case against Rocco for months. You could be in danger. FBI. The claim hit her like a physical blow. Enzo. He says he's FBI. He's lying. Enzo's voice was cold, controlled. The FBI has no active investigation into my legitimate businesses. This is the Marchettis, using your friend to get to you. How can you be sure? Because I own half the FBI field office in this city, he replied matter-of-factly. If there were an investigation, I would know. The casual admission of corruption should have horrified her. Instead, it merely confirmed what she'd suspected about the extent of Enzo's influence. Mia, listen to me. Daniel's voice again, urgent through the door. Whatever he's told you, it's not the whole truth. He's dangerous. People who cross him disappear. She knew that, too. Had seen glimpses of the ruthlessness behind Enzo's carefully maintained facade. Marcus is pulling up now, Enzo said in her ear. Stay away from the door, Tesoro. A moment later, heavy footsteps in the hallway, followed by Daniel's startled exclamation and the sound of a brief scuffle. Then silence. It's clear, came Marcus's deep voice through the door. Miss Lewis, please open up. Mia hesitated. Enzo, is it safe? Yes, he confirmed. Let Marcus bring you to me. She opened the door to find Marcus standing alone, his imposing frame blocking her view. She noticed fresh scrapes across his knuckles. Where is he? Mia asked, voice shaking. Being taken care of, Marcus replied, tone revealing nothing. Mr. Rocco wants you brought to the penthouse immediately. The penthouse, Enzo's fortress in the sky with its bullet-resistant windows, private elevator, security that would put most government buildings to shame. Once there, she would be completely in his world, under his protection and control. I need to pack some things, Mia said. Marcus nodded once. 5 minutes. She returned to the apartment, moving on autopilot as she gathered clothes, toiletries, her sketchbook. The phone was still connected to Enzo's line. Are you there? She asked softly. Always, came his immediate response. You did the right thing calling me, Mia. What's going to happen to Daniel? A pause. That depends on what we learn from him. The implication sent chills through her. Don't hurt him, Enzo, please. Whatever he's involved in, he was my friend once. Your safety is my priority, he replied, neatly sidestepping the request. We'll discuss everything when you arrive. 20 minutes later, she was in the back of Enzo's Mercedes, speeding through rain-slicked streets toward downtown. Marcus drove in silence, eyes constantly checking mirrors, scanning for threats. Mia clutched her bag, events playing on repeat in her mind. FBI or Marchettis? Was Daniel telling the truth about an investigation, or was he working for Enzo's enemies? The car pulled into the private underground garage of Enzo's building, stopping near a private elevator requiring both keycard and fingerprint recognition. Marcus escorted her inside. The doors opened directly into Enzo's foyer, gleaming marble floors, soft indirect lighting. And there he was, waiting, still in his business attire despite the late hour. His expression was a careful mask of control, only the tightness around his eyes betraying concern. Thank you, Marcus, he said, not taking his eyes off Mia. Ensure we're not disturbed. The bodyguard nodded and retreated into the elevator, leaving them alone. For a moment, neither moved. Then Enzo crossed the space in 4 long strides, his hands framing her face as his eyes searched hers. Are you hurt? He asked, thumbs brushing her cheekbones. She shook her head. No, just confused, scared. His jaw tightened. You're safe now. Safe. That word again. Safety at the price of freedom. What's happening, Enzo? Mia asked, stepping back from his touch. Who is Daniel really working for? He studied her for a long moment, as if deciding how much to tell her. Come, he said finally, gesturing toward the living room with its wall of windows overlooking the city. You should sit down. She followed him into the familiar space, noting the glass of whiskey on the side table, the open laptop on the coffee table. He'd been working when she called. He guided her to the sofa, sitting close enough that she could feel his heat but not touching. Daniel Andrews is not who you think he is, he began, voice measured. He never went to Seattle. He's been in federal custody for the past 6 months, cooperating with an investigation into the Marchetti family. Her breath caught. He's really FBI? No. Enzo's eyes were hard. He's a confidential informant, a former associate of the Marchettis who got caught moving product across state lines. He made a deal to avoid prison. But why would he come after me? Enzo's hand found hers, fingers warm and steady. Because the Marchettis know about you, Tesoro. They know you're my weakness, and they're desperate enough to use anyone to get to me. My weakness. The words echoed, confirming her fear. Her connection to Enzo had made her a target. What will happen to him? She asked again. Enzo's thumb traced circles on her hand. He'll be questioned. Once we confirm his connection to the Marchettis, he'll be discouraged from pursuing this particular avenue. Discouraged, she repeated, the euphemism heavy between them. I won't lie to you, Mia. Not anymore. His dark eyes held hers, unflinching. There are aspects of my business that aren't beautiful. Decisions I make that would disturb you. But everything I do is to protect what's mine. His hand tightened on hers. You. The raw honesty stripped away her defenses. I was going to leave, Mia whispered. Before Daniel showed up, I decided I couldn't live in your world. Pain flashed across his features, quickly suppressed. And now? She looked down at their joined hands. Now I don't know what to think. If Daniel was working for your enemies, if they targeted me deliberately. Then I was right to have you protected, he finished softly. Right to be cautious. She couldn't argue with his logic, couldn't deny that his security measures might have saved her. What happens now? She asked, finally meeting his gaze. Now you stay here, where I can keep you safe. Where no one can reach you without going through me first. For how long? As long as necessary. He reached out, tucking hair behind her ear. As long as it takes to eliminate the threat. Eliminate. Another euphemism for violence. And then what? Do I go back to my apartment, back to being followed and watched? A muscle ticked in his jaw. What would you have me do, Mia? Pretend there's no danger? I don't know, she admitted, exhaustion washing over her. I don't know what the answer is. He must have seen the fatigue in her face because his expression softened. It's late. You should rest. We can continue this tomorrow. But she grabbed his hand as he started to leave. Stay, please. He hesitated, then nodded, sliding into bed beside her moments later. After a moment's hesitation, she moved into his arms, resting her head against his chest where she could hear the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. His arms came around her, strong and secure, one hand stroking gently through her hair. I will always protect you, he murmured against the top of her head, even from myself if necessary. Remember that, Mia. She closed her eyes, letting his warmth envelop her. In that moment, cradled against Enzo Rocco's chest, she felt safer than she had in days, and more trapped than ever before. What she didn't know was that Daniel was already talking, and what he was saying would change everything. Morning arrived with golden light filtering through Enzo's floor-to-ceiling windows. Mia woke disoriented, silk sheets unfamiliar against her skin, before remembering everything, her attempted escape, Daniel's appearance, the revelations that followed. She reached across the massive bed to find Enzo's side empty, the sheets cool. He'd been gone for some time. Mia slipped from the bed, wrapping herself in the cashmere robe he kept for her. Freshly showered, she found clothes laid out, a soft gray sweater and black jeans she'd left here weeks ago, another small reminder of his control. She made her way toward the kitchen, following the scent of coffee and low voices. She paused in the hallway when she realized Enzo wasn't alone. Marcus stood near the kitchen island, his massive frame tense. Enzo leaned against the counter in a charcoal suit despite the early hour, espresso cradled in one hand. "Confirm the Marchetti connection," Marcus was saying. "Phone records show calls to Vincent Marchetti's personal line as recently as yesterday morning." "And the FBI angle?" Enzo asked. "A fabrication. Andrews has no connection to any federal agency. He was approached by Vincent's brother 3 weeks ago, offered substantial payment to get close to Miss Lewis." Mia's heart clenched. Daniel had lied, had been paid to use their friendship. "Where is he now?" Enzo's question was deceptively casual. "Secure at the warehouse facility, awaiting your instructions." She must have made some sound because both men turned. Enzo's expression immediately softened. "Mia," he said, moving toward her. "You should still be resting." "Is it true?" she asked. "About Daniel?" Enzo exchanged a glance with Marcus, who nodded and silently exited. "Yes," Enzo confirmed, taking her hands. "Everything we suspected. He was specifically targeted by the Marchettis because of your past connection. They've been watching you for weeks." "Weeks. So when you had me followed, I was protecting you from a very real threat," he finished. "One we now need to address permanently." The implication sent chills through her. "What are you going to do to him?" "What would you have me do, Mia? Release him so he can report back? So they can try again with someone else from your past?" "You could warn him off." A small, sad smile. "Men like Daniel don't simply walk away when threatened, and the Marchettis won't stop." "You mean me? I'm the weakness." He cupped her face, touched gentle despite the hardness in his eyes. "You are what I fight for, what I would kill for." He paused. "What I would die for." "I can't be responsible for what happens to Daniel," she whispered. "I can't have that on my conscience." Enzo studied her, then said, "What if there was another way? Daniel knows who contacted him, what they planned. With the right persuasion, he can become our asset instead of theirs." "You mean torture him?" "I mean offer him a choice between death at the Marchetti's hands when they discover his failure, or a lucrative arrangement with me. And if he refuses, then he'll be released far from the city with resources to disappear. What happens after is his choice." It was more than she'd expected. "Thank you." Enzo guided her to a stool. "You should eat." He placed breakfast before her. Fruit, yogurt, pastries, coffee made exactly as she preferred. The domesticity was surreal. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we send a message that cannot be misinterpreted." "What kind of message?" "The kind that ensures no one ever thinks to use you against me again." "Will it ever end? The threats, the enemies?" Something vulnerable flickered across his features. "I won't lie. The world I live in doesn't allow for true peace. There will always be threats." He moved beside her. "But I can offer you protection, resources, comfort." His fingers traced her jawline. "And love, Mia, though it comes tangled with complications." "Is that enough?" he asked, rare uncertainty in his voice. "Am I enough?" Before she could answer, his phone rang, his business line. "I need to take this," he said, moving toward his office. Left alone, Mia moved to the windows. Her phone chimed from the bedroom. She retrieved it to find a message from an unknown number. "Mia, it's Daniel. They're letting me contact you once. Whatever Rocco told you, he's worse than you know. The FBI really is building a case. Get out while you can." "Delete this message." Her hands shook. Was this a trick to test her loyalty, or was Daniel telling the truth? She moved to Enzo's office doorway. He paced before the windows, phone to his ear. "I want the shipment secured by tonight. Double the usual security. The Marchettis will be looking to retaliate." He turned, eyes finding hers. Something in her expression alerted him. He immediately ended the call. "What's wrong?" She held out her phone, showing him Daniel's message. His expression darkened. "Clever," he said, voice dangerously soft. "Using your compassion against you." "Is he wrong? About the FBI building a case?" Enzo's eyes studied her. "No," he said finally. He's not entirely wrong about that. The admission stunned her. What I didn't mention was the ongoing attempt to build a RICO case against several organizations, including mine. It's cyclical. Every few years, an ambitious prosecutor tries. They rarely succeed. Because you own half the FBI field office. A small, cold smile. Among other reasons. So Daniel could be working with the FBI? No, that part is a lie. His connection to the Marchettis is confirmed. What he's doing is trying to drive a wedge between us. To get you to leave my protection. He took her phone. Which is exactly what they want. I don't know what to believe anymore. Enzo set her phone aside and took her hands. Believe this. Everything I've done has been to protect you. Not just your physical safety, but your peace of mind. By lying to me? By shielding you from realities you shouldn't have to face. I need to see him, Mia said suddenly. Daniel, I need to look him in the eye. Enzo's expression hardened. Absolutely not. I need to know. I need to judge for myself. It's too dangerous. Not if you're there. Not if Marcus is there. Not in your warehouse with your men everywhere. She squeezed his hands. Please. He studied her for a long moment. You don't trust my word. I trust that you believe what you're telling me, but I also know you would lie to protect me. He didn't deny it. And if I arrange this meeting, then I'll make my decision about Daniel, about us. Respect flickered in his eyes, followed by resignation. Very well, this afternoon, but you follow my instructions exactly. My men will be present at all times. Agreed. His hand cupped her cheek. You should know, Tesoro, that regardless of what you hear today, regardless of what decision you make, you will remain under my protection. That is non-negotiable. Whether she chose to stay or walk away, she would never truly be free of his presence. I understand. He pressed his lips to her forehead. Get ready. We leave in an hour. As he turned to make arrangements, she studied his profile. The strong jaw, the perfect posture, the absolute authority. This was Enzo Rocco in his element. And she was caught in his orbit. By afternoon, she would have her answer. But the truth was far more complicated than either realized. The warehouse district loomed gray and industrial against the afternoon sky. Marcus drove in silence while Enzo sat beside Mia in the Mercedes, his hand covering hers. The car slowed before an abandoned loading facility, its windows blacked out. Two men in dark suits appeared as Marcus stopped, moving into position. Stay close to me, Enzo murmured, helping her from the car. Remember what we discussed. She nodded. Stay within arm's reach. Speak only to Daniel. Ask questions but reveal nothing. They entered through heavy metal doors, passing security checkpoints. The interior was surprisingly modern, polished concrete, bright LED lighting, frosted glass offices. Enzo guided her through corridors to a room at the far end. Another guard stood outside. Is he ready? Enzo asked. Yes, sir. Enzo turned to her. Last chance to change your mind. I need to know the truth. He nodded to the guard who unlocked the door. The room was simple, a table, chairs. And there sat Daniel, looking haggard but unharmed. Mia, thank God. Are you okay? She felt Enzo stiffen, but he remained silent. I'm fine, she said, sitting across from Daniel. Enzo took the seat beside her. Has he hurt you? Threatened you? No, but I need to know who you're really working for, Daniel. He leaned forward. I told you, I'm with the FBI. We've been building a case against Rocco for months. We know what he is, what he does. And what is that? He orders hits on rivals, traffics weapons, has city officials in his pocket. People who cross him disappear. His voice dropped. Ask him about Joseph Caldwell or Diana Russo. She felt Enzo's minute reaction, tension in his shoulders. If you're FBI, Mia said carefully, why did phone records show calls to Vincent Marchetti? Daniel faltered before recovering. Part of my cover. I've been working both sides, feeding the Marchettis false information while gathering evidence. He leaned closer. They're moving on him soon. RICO indictments. Anyone associated will be implicated. You need to get clear. She glanced at Enzo, who remained still. Why did you really come back from Seattle? Why approach me? Hesitation flickered in his eyes. The investigation reached a critical point. They needed someone who could get close to Rocco's inner circle. His gaze intensified. When they discovered your connection, I volunteered. I couldn't let you stay in danger. It was convincing. If she hadn't seen Enzo's evidence, she might have believed it. You never went to Seattle, did you? Daniel blinked. What? Seattle, the graduate program. It doesn't exist with you as a student, does it? His expression hardened. This isn't about me. It's about getting you away from his influence. I think I'm already in too deep, she said, surprised by her calm acceptance. I have been since the beginning. He's gotten to you. Stockholm Syndrome. Enough. Enzo's voice cut through the room. You've had your say. Now it's time for the truth. He withdrew a small recording device, placing it on the table. With a click, a conversation filled the room. Daniel's voice. She's definitely the weak point. 3 months in and she's already chafing. One push and she'll break things off. Another voice. And Rocco, he won't let her go easily. When she tries to leave, he'll be distracted, vulnerable. That's your window. Daniel's laugh was cold. Trust me. One mention of old times and she'll be spilling everything. She always was an open book. Enzo clicked it off. The silence was heavy. Mia stared at Daniel, finding a stranger in familiar features. That's doctored, he spat. Edited. No, Mia said softly. It's not. Mia, you can't believe him over me. We've known each other for years. She studied him across the table, once a friend, now revealed as something else entirely. When did they approach you? Daniel's shoulders slumped. 6 months ago. I owed money, gambling debts. They offered to clear it for information about Rocco. And when that expanded to using me, genuine regret crossed his features. That wasn't the original plan. When they found out about our connection, he trailed off. I'm sorry, Mia. I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice, Enzo said, voice mild but fury beneath. You chose the Marchettis. You chose to betray a friend. You chose to place her in danger. As opposed to what she's in with you, Daniel shot back. At least with us, she had a chance to walk away. With you, it's a life sentence. Enzo tensed, but his voice remained controlled. Mia makes her own choices. Right. That's why you have her followed. Why you've isolated her. Why you're holding her hostage. The accusations struck close to home. But hearing them from Daniel, who had conspired to use her, stripped them of power. I've heard enough, Mia said, rising. She turned to Enzo. I'd like to leave. He nodded, standing. His hand found the small of her back. Mia, wait, Daniel called desperately. Whatever he's promised, it won't last. The Marchettis won't stop. She paused. What will happen to him? She asked Enzo softly. As we discussed, he'll be given resources to disappear. What he does with that is his choice. Goodbye, Daniel, she said. I hope you use your second chance wisely. In the corridor, Enzo drew her against him as emotions washed over her. You knew, she murmured. You knew what he would say. I know how men like him think. His hand stroked her spine. Are you all right? I just found out someone I trusted was willing to use me. That's going to take some processing. Guilt crossed his features. A struggle you're only in because of me. No, she corrected with conviction. Because I chose to enter it. Because I accepted what you offered, knowing what it might mean. His eyes searched hers. And now? Knowing everything. What do you choose, Mia? The question that had haunted her since she'd texted those 2 words. I choose to stay, she said, gathering courage. Not because I'm trapped, but because despite everything, there's something between us worth fighting for. Relief washed over his features. You understand what that means? The life won't be normal. I know. But there will also be this. She placed her hand over his heart. The man beneath the reputation. The love behind the possession. Love, he repeated. Yes, this need to protect you, to keep you safe. His thumb traced her lip. I've never said those words before. You don't have to. But Enzo never left important matters unspoken. I love you, Mia Lewis, with everything I am. I love you too, she whispered, with open eyes, knowing exactly who you are. His kiss was gentle, a tender claiming. This was certainty, not fear. When they parted, he rested his forehead against hers. There are things we need to discuss, changes I'm willing to make. What kind of changes? No more surveillance without your knowledge, full transparency. You'll have direct access to my security team. His eyes held hers. I can't promise no protection, but I can promise partnership. It wasn't perfect freedom, but it was a concession she hadn't expected. I can work with that. The Marchettis need to be dealt with permanently. Decisive action you may not want details of. Will it end the danger? Nothing ends all danger, he answered honestly, but it will eliminate the immediate threat. She nodded. Then do what you need to do. He studied her, and after, we could take time away. I own property on the Mediterranean. Private, secure. A honeymoon without the wedding. Something sparked in his eyes. For now, though I intend to make you mine in every way possible, in time. The possessiveness sent warmth through her, belonging she'd never experienced. In time, she echoed. Then let's go home. There are arrangements to be made. His hand found hers. A future to secure. As they walked back, Mia reflected on the journey. She had texted, "We're done," believing she could walk away. He had replied, "You don't decide that," certain of his claim. In the end, they'd both been wrong. The decision was something they would forge together. It wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be perfect. But as they stepped into fading light, his arm around her waist, she knew it would be real. Complicated, dangerous, intense, but real. And for now, that was enough. 3 days passed in Enzo's penthouse like a dream suspended between worlds. Mia painted on his terrace while he conducted business in his office, their lives intertwining in ways both mundane and extraordinary. But beneath the surface calm, she knew the storm was gathering. On the 4th morning, she woke to find Enzo already dressed, standing at the windows in a black suit that made him look like death incarnate. "It's today, isn't it?" she asked softly. He turned, and she saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Not hesitation exactly, but a heaviness that spoke of the weight he carried. "Yes, the Marchettis will be dealt with tonight." He crossed to her, sitting on the edge of the bed. "I want you to understand something, Mia. What happens today isn't just about revenge or territory. It's about ensuring your safety, about making certain no one ever tries to use you against me again." She reached for his hand. "I know." "Do you?" His thumb traced circles on her palm. "Because once this is done, there's no going back. The Marchettis will be finished, but that will shift the balance of power in the city. Other families will take notice. Some will see opportunity. Others will see threat. You're saying it might get worse before it gets better. I'm saying the next few months will be difficult. I'll have to be more visible, more ruthless. I'll have to remind everyone why my name carries weight." His jaw tightened. "And you'll see sides of me that aren't gentle." Mia studied his face. The sharp angles, the dark eyes that had seen too much, the mouth that could kiss her tenderly or issue orders that ended lives. "I'm not asking you to be gentle, Enzo. I'm asking you to be honest with me, to let me choose with full knowledge of what I'm choosing." Something like relief flickered across his features. "Then you should know, Vincent Marchetti won't survive the night. Neither will his brother Antonio. Their lieutenants will be given a choice: pledge loyalty to me or disappear. The ones who choose poorly won't get a second chance." The clinical way he described what amounted to multiple murders should have horrified her. Instead, she found herself asking, "And their families?" "Untouched. I don't make war on children or civilians." His expression hardened. "But their assets will be absorbed, their territories redistributed. By dawn, the Marchetti name will mean nothing in this city. How can you be so certain it will work?" A cold smile curved his lips. Because I've been planning this for weeks, Tesoro. Since the moment they made their first move against me. Every piece is in place. Every contingency accounted for. You were waiting, she realized, for them to make a mistake big enough to justify wiping them out completely. I was waiting for them to give me an excuse the other families would accept, he corrected. When they targeted you, a civilian, an innocent, they crossed a line. Now no one will question what happens to them. The calculation behind his strategy was breathtaking and terrifying. What do you need from me today? She asked. Stay here. Stay safe. He cupped her face in his hands. Marcus and 2 others will remain with you. The rest of my men will be with me. When will you be back? Before dawn, if everything goes as planned. His eyes searched hers. If something goes wrong, don't, she interrupted. Don't say it. If something goes wrong, he continued firmly, Marcus has instructions. You'll be taken to a safe house outside the city. There's money, documents, everything you'll need to disappear if necessary. Her heart clenched. I'm not running, Enzo. You will if I tell you to. His voice was steel wrapped in velvet. This is the one thing I won't compromise on, Mia. Your survival comes before everything. Before my empire, before my pride, before my life. She saw the absolute certainty in his eyes and knew arguing was pointless. Come back to me, she whispered instead. Always. He kissed her then. Deep, possessive, desperate. A kiss that tasted like promises and goodbye. When he pulled away, his forehead rested against hers. I love you, Mia Lewis. Whatever happens tonight, never doubt that. I love you too. He stood, straightening his suit jacket. And in that moment, she watched him transform. The man who had held her tenderly vanished, replaced by Enzo Rocco, the predator, the strategist, the king of a concrete empire built on fear and respect. Marcus, he called. The bodyguard appeared in the doorway immediately. Sir? You know what to do. Yes, sir. Enzo's eyes found hers one last time. Then he was gone, his footsteps echoing through the penthouse until the private elevator carried him away. Mia stood at the windows, watching the city below as afternoon faded to evening. Somewhere out there, Enzo was orchestrating violence. Men would die tonight because they'd threatened what was his. Because they'd threatened her. The weight of that responsibility should have crushed her. Instead, she felt strangely numb, as if she'd stepped outside herself and was watching events unfold from a distance. Miss Lewis. Marcus's voice broke through her thoughts. You should eat something. It's going to be a long night. She turned to find him standing a respectful distance away, his expression as unreadable as always. How long have you worked for Enzo? She asked suddenly. 15 years. Have you ever seen him like this? This focused on protecting someone? Something that might have been a smile flickered across Marcus's stern features. No, ma'am, you're the first. Does that scare you, that he has a weakness now? Respectfully, Miss Lewis, you're not a weakness. You're his reason. Marcus's dark eyes held hers. Before you, Mr. Rocco was effective but empty. He built his empire because there was nothing else. Now he's building it for something. For someone. That doesn't make him weaker. It makes him more dangerous. The insight surprised her. She'd never heard Marcus speak more than a few words at a time. You think I'm good for him? I think you're his salvation or his destruction, Marcus replied honestly. Time will tell which. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked it, expression tightening almost imperceptibly. What is it? Mia asked, pulse quickening. Phase 1 is complete. The Marchetti warehouse on the waterfront has been secured. He looked up. No casualties on our side. Our side. She was part of this now, whether she wanted to be or not. The hours crawled past with agonizing slowness. Marcus received periodic updates, each one marking another piece falling into place in Enzo's carefully orchestrated strategy. The Marchetti Social Club in Little Italy, secured. Their money laundering operation at the shipping yard, dismantled. Vincent Marchetti's personal residence, surrounded. And through it all Mia waited, painting to distract herself. her brushstrokes increasingly erratic as tension mounted. It was just past midnight when Marcus's phone rang rather than buzzed. He answered immediately, listened for 30 seconds, then said simply, "Understood." When he looked at Mia, something in his expression made her heart stop. "What happened?" she demanded. "There were complications." "Vincent Marchetti was tipped off. We don't know by whom. He fled his residence before our team arrived." Marcus's jaw tightened. "He's in the wind, dangerous and desperate." "And Enzo?" "Leading the search personally." Fear clawed at her throat. "You said Vincent was desperate. What does that mean?" Marcus hesitated, and in that hesitation she saw the answer. "He'll come after me," she whispered. "That's what you're thinking. If Vincent can't win against Enzo directly, he'll try to take what Enzo values most. It's a possibility we're prepared for," Marcus said carefully. "Mr. Rocco has already ordered additional security. No one gets near this building without—" The lights went out. For 3 seconds there was absolute darkness and silence. Then emergency lighting flickered on, bathing the penthouse in eerie red. "Get away from the windows," Marcus commanded, already moving toward her. His hand went inside his jacket, emerging with a gun. "Now, Miss Lewis." Mia's training under Enzo's paranoid security protocols kicked in. She moved toward the reinforced safe room hidden behind a false wall in his office, her heart hammering. Marcus's phone was already at his ear. "Report. What the hell just happened to our power?" A pause. "And backup generators?" Another pause. Then his expression turned to stone. "Lock it down. No one in or out. We're going to the safe room." "Marcus, what?" "Someone cut power to the entire block," he said, already guiding her down the hallway. "That's not an accident. That's not a coincidence." They were 10 feet from the office when the private elevator chimed. Both of them froze. "That's impossible," Marcus breathed. "The elevator requires—" "2 security measures," a voice called from the foyer. Unfamiliar, carrying a thick accent. "A key card and fingerprint. Lucky for us, your night security supervisor has both. And a gambling problem that made him very cooperative." Marcus moved instantly, positioning himself between Mia and the foyer. "Get in the safe room. Lock it. Don't open it for anyone except Mr. Rocco." "But go!" His voice cracked like a whip. She ran. Behind her she heard voices. Marcus's firm and controlled, others harsh and threatening. Then gunfire, sharp, deafening cracks that made her stumble. Mia burst into Enzo's office, her hands shaking as she found the hidden panel, pressed the sequence he'd made her memorize. The wall section swung open, revealing a steel-reinforced room with communications equipment, weapons, supplies. She dove inside, reaching for the door control. "Not so fast, Miss Lewis." The voice stopped her cold. She turned to find a man standing in the office doorway. 50s, silver-haired, expensive suit, marred by what looked like blood spatters. Behind him, 2 younger men with guns. Vincent Marchetti. She recognized him from photos Enzo had shown her. "You killed Marcus," she whispered, horror washing through her. "He killed 2 of my men first. Very dedicated, that one." Vincent's smile was cold as he stepped into the office. "But ultimately futile. Which brings us to you. The reason Enzo Rocco has made himself vulnerable for the first time in his career." "He'll kill you for this," Mia said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "You know that." "Oh, I'm counting on him trying." Vincent pulled out a phone. "In fact, I'm about to give him a very special invitation." Vincent Marchetti aimed his phone's camera at Mia, his smile never reaching his cold eyes. "Smile for your boyfriend, Miss Lewis." She stood frozen in Enzo's office, the safe room just feet away, so close to safety, yet impossibly far. Behind Vincent, his 2 men kept their weapons trained on her. "Don't do this," she said, hating the tremor in her voice. "Whatever you think this accomplishes—" "What this accomplishes," Vincent interrupted, "is leverage. The one thing Enzo Rocco has never given anyone." He tapped his phone. "I'm sending him our location now, along with a photo of his greatest weakness standing in his own office, surrounded by my men." Mia's mind raced. Enzo had spent months teaching her about threats and responses, about staying calm under pressure. If you hurt me, you lose your leverage. Smart girl. Which is why you're going to stay very much alive and unharmed, as long as Rocco follows my instructions. Vincent pocketed his phone. We're going to wait right here for him to arrive. Alone, unarmed, ready to negotiate. He won't come alone. He will if he wants you breathing. Vincent's expression hardened. I've already lost everything tonight. My brother, my operation, my empire. The only thing I have left is revenge. And the only way I get that is by making Enzo Rocco feel what I feel. Loss, Mia whispered, understanding dawning. You want him to lose me. I want him to choose. Vincent moved closer, circling her like a predator. His empire or his woman, his power or his heart, because he can't have both, not anymore. Tonight proved that. Mia's phone, the black one Enzo had given her, buzzed in her pocket. Vincent's hand shot out. Give it to me. She pulled it out slowly, watching as he answered. Enzo's voice filled the office, raw with barely controlled fury. Vincent. Enzo, so good of you to call. I assume you received my photo? If you've touched her, she's perfectly fine, for now. Vincent's smile widened. But her continued health depends entirely on your cooperation. You have 30 minutes to get here, alone. When you arrive, we're going to have a conversation about the future of this city. There is no future for you, Vincent. You're a dead man. Perhaps. But I'm a dead man holding the one thing you actually care about. Vincent's voice turned mocking. How does it feel, Enzo? All that power, all that control, and you can't protect the one person who matters? Silence on the other end. Then, quieter, deadlier. What do you want? Safe passage out of the city, 5 million in untraceable currency, and you, on your knees, acknowledging that I beat you. Done. No hesitation. Let me talk to her. Vincent held the phone toward Mia. Make it quick. Enzo, she breathed. Mia. Tesoro, are you hurt? No. Marcus. Her voice broke. Marcus tried to stop them. I know. I'm so sorry, love. I should have anticipated this, should have. Don't, she interrupted. Don't give him what he wants. Don't throw away everything because of me. You are everything, Enzo said simply. The rest is just business. That's enough, Vincent said, pulling the phone away. 30 minutes, Rocco. Come alone or she dies. He ended the call. Mia's mind raced through possibilities. The safe room behind her. Could she make it? No, not with 3 guns trained on her. Negotiation. Vincent was beyond reason, a man who'd lost everything and wanted only to bring Enzo down with him. That left only one option. He won't give you what you want, she said carefully. Not really. Vincent raised an eyebrow. Explain. You think making him choose between his empire and me proves something, but Enzo doesn't think like that. She took a calculated risk, stepping closer. He'll come here, yes. He'll appear to give you everything you want, and then he'll kill you anyway. Not if I kill you first. Then you lose your leverage and die anyway. Mia forced her voice steady. But there is another way. One where you actually survive this. Vincent studied her, curiosity flickering beneath the madness. I'm listening. Let me go. Take the money Enzo offered and disappear tonight. He's already won. You said it yourself. Your brother's dead. Your organization destroyed. The only question is whether you die here in the next hour or live to rebuild somewhere else. Rebuild with what? Everything I had is gone. 5 million is more than nothing, she pressed. It's a start. In another city, another country, I could run like a coward while Enzo Rocco celebrates his victory. Vincent's laugh was bitter. No, I'd rather die taking something from him. Then you're not thinking clearly, Mia said, channeling every ounce of conviction she possessed. Revenge won't bring your brother back. It won't restore what you lost. It will only ensure your death means nothing. For a moment, something flickered in Vincent's eyes. Doubt, perhaps, or exhaustion. The look of a man who'd been fighting so long he'd forgotten why. Then it hardened again. Nice try, Miss Lewis, but I've made my choice. The elevator chimed. Everyone turned toward the foyer. Heavy footsteps. Then Enzo appeared in the office doorway. He looked like war incarnate. Blood spattered on his shirt, a cut above one eye, his expression carved from stone. But his eyes, when they found Mia, held such naked relief and fear that her breath caught. "I'm here," he said simply. "Let her go." "Not yet." Vincent gestured to his men, who moved to flank Enzo. "First we negotiate." "We already negotiated. I agreed to your terms." That was before I had time to think. Vincent's gun remained pointed at Mia. "I've decided I want something more than money and safe passage. I want your empire." Enzo went very still. "Explain." "You walk away, tonight. You transfer your operations, your territories, your assets, everything, to neutral management. You disappear with your girlfriend and never return to this city." Vincent's smile was vicious. "Or I put a bullet in her head right now. You'll never make it out of this building alive," Enzo said quietly. "Neither will she." The standoff stretched, tension coiling tighter with each passing second. Mia saw the calculation in Enzo's eyes. Odds, angles, possibilities. She knew him well enough now to recognize the moment he decided to act. "All right," Enzo said, raising his hands. "You win, my empire for her life. I'll make the calls right now." He moved. It happened so fast Mia barely tracked it. Enzo's hand flashed to his ankle, emerging with a small pistol. Vincent's gun swung toward him. She screamed, lunging forward without thinking. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. Mia felt the impact. Not pain exactly, but pressure, heat spreading across her shoulder. She stumbled, and Enzo was there, catching her, his face transformed by primal terror. "No, no, no," he was saying, lowering her to the floor. "Mia, Tesoro, stay with me." Behind him she glimpsed Vincent crumpling, a red stain spreading across his chest. Enzo's shot had found its mark. The two other men lay motionless. When had that happened? Her vision was blurring. "I'm okay," she managed. "I think it just grazed." "You're bleeding. You're bleeding so much." Enzo's hands were everywhere, pressing against the wound in her shoulder, his fingers slick with her blood. "Marcus! Get medical!" He stopped, remembering. Marcus was gone. "Phone," Mia whispered. "Call someone." Enzo was already dialing, barking orders into his phone. Medical team, immediate extraction, cleanup crew. All while his other hand stayed pressed against her shoulder, his face inches from hers. "Why did you do that?" he demanded, voice cracking. "Why did you move?" "I had the shot. I could have." "I thought he was going to kill you." Simple truth. In that moment she'd acted on pure instinct, thinking only of protecting him. "You're not supposed to protect me," he said fiercely. "I'm supposed to protect you. That's the deal. That's always been the deal." "Maybe," she said, fighting the darkness creeping at the edges of her vision. "We protect each other." His expression crumbled. "I almost lost you. I almost lost you, and it would have been my fault. All of this." "Enzo." She raised her uninjured hand to his face. "I'm still here. We're both still here." The medical team arrived in minutes, professional and efficient. They assessed her wound, through and through, missing bone and major arteries. Painful, but survivable. They worked quickly, stanching the bleeding, administering pain medication that made everything soft and distant. Through the haze, she heard Enzo giving orders, his voice cold and controlled again. "Clean up the bodies. Secure the building. Find out who gave Vincent access." Sentence delivered without emotion. Anyone involved would face consequences beyond imagination. Then his hand found hers, warm and solid. "Stay awake, Tesoro. Stay with me." "Not going anywhere," she murmured. "You're stuck with me now." "Good." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "Because I have no intention of letting you go. Ever." The next hours passed in fragments. The ride to Enzo's private medical facility. Surgery to clean and repair the wound. Waking in a recovery room to find him seated beside her bed, still in his blood-stained clothes. Exhaustion carved into every line of his face. "Hey," she whispered. His head snapped up, eyes finding hers. "Hey yourself. How do you feel?" "Like I got shot, but alive." She tried to smile. How bad is it? You'll recover fully. No permanent damage. His hand covered hers carefully, avoiding the IV. You were incredibly lucky, Mia. Or incredibly stupid. I'm not sure which. Brave, he corrected. Foolishly, terrifyingly brave. His jaw tightened. Don't ever do that again. Can't promise that. What if... Promise me. His voice was raw. Promise me you will never throw yourself between me and a bullet again. I can't. He stopped, struggling. I can't survive losing you, Mia. My empire, my power, my reputation. I would burn it all without hesitation. But losing you would destroy me. She squeezed his hand. Then it's a good thing you're not going to lose me. Something like a smile touched his lips. The doctor said you should rest. We can talk when... Now, she interrupted. We talk now, because I need to know. What happens next? Vincent is dead. The Marchettis are finished. But you said there would be consequences, that other families would react. Enzo studied her for a long moment. What happens next is that I remind everyone why my name carries weight in this city. There will be meetings, negotiations, demonstrations of power. It won't be pretty. How long? A few months, maybe 6. I need to stabilize everything, make certain no one sees tonight's events as weakness or opportunity. He paused. Unless you want out. If this is too much, if you want to walk away, I'll arrange protection, set you up somewhere safe, somewhere far from this world. Mia looked at him. This man who had orchestrated violence tonight, who had killed without hesitation, who commanded an empire built on fear. This man who sat beside her hospital bed with terror still lingering in his eyes, who had been willing to surrender everything for her. I don't want out, she said quietly. I want what you promised. Partnership, transparency. A life built together, even if it's complicated. Relief washed over his features. After these 6 months, we'll take that trip. The Mediterranean property. Time away from all of this to just be. A honeymoon without the wedding, she said, echoing their earlier conversation. His expression turned serious. Actually, I was thinking we could include the wedding. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. I bought this 2 months ago. Kept waiting for the right moment to ask. Then tonight happened, and I realized there is no perfect moment. There's only now and choice and the certainty that I want you beside me for whatever comes next. He opened the box, revealing a ring. Elegant, understated, perfect. Mia Lewis, will you marry me? Will you choose this complicated, dangerous life? Will you choose me? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Yes, to all of it. Yes. He slipped the ring on her finger with shaking hands, then leaned forward to kiss her. Gentle, reverent, full of promise. When they parted, she whispered, I love you, Enzo Rocco. I love you, Mia, my salvation and my destruction. He smiled. Time will tell which. Maybe, she said. I can be both. 6 months later, the Mediterranean sun painted everything gold. Mia stood on the terrace of Enzo's villa, watching waves crash against the cliffs below. Behind her, she heard his footsteps. Ready? He asked, coming to stand beside her. She looked down at the simple white dress she wore, then at him in his dark suit. Beyond them, a small gathering waited. Enzo's most trusted associates, a handful of his family, and the priest who would officiate. Ready, she confirmed. They'd survived 6 months of consolidation, of Enzo methodically securing his power while keeping her safe. 6 months of learning to navigate their partnership, of building something that was theirs alone. Now, finally, they could begin the next chapter. As they walked toward the ceremony, Mia thought about that night in her apartment when she'd texted, "We're done." How naive she'd been, thinking she could simply walk away. How little she'd understood about the connection between them. Enzo had been right. She didn't get to decide when they were done, but neither did he. They decided together, and they'd chosen each other every day, despite everything. No regrets? Enzo murmured as they reached the gathering. Mia looked up at him. Her partner, her protector, her choice. None. His smile was genuine, transformed by happiness. Neither do I, Tesoro. Neither do I. And as the ceremony began, the sun setting over the Mediterranean, Mia knew with absolute certainty that she'd made the right choice. Not freedom or captivity, but love. Complicated, dangerous, real love. With a man who would burn the world for her. And she would do the same for him. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.